There are many exciting things waiting for us in Part 2 of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, the Indigo Disc. One of them is the fact that we'll see various Pokemon, from completely new ones to ones that haven't been in the games for a while. And it's clear that we'll see Pokemon from all types in the game, but which type will we see the most? Or the least? While there's no definite way of finding this out because the games aren't out yet, we'll use all that's been revealed to us so far and count the types from there to get an idea. So I'm Shro, and let's dive in. Feel free to pick a type that you think will win, or just want to root for. Alright, let's get into it. There's Execute for Grass and Psychic, there's Wingull for Water and Flying, there's Minccino for Normal, there's Blitzo and Substrika for Electric, there's Golett and Golurk for Ground and Ghost, there's Alolan Executor for Grass and Dragon, there's Seal for Water, there's Dewgong for Water and Ice, there's Pyroar for Fire and Normal, there's Glimmora for Rock and Poison, there's Whimsicott for Grass and Fairy, there's Metagross for Steel and Psychic, there's Reuniclus for Psychic, there's Milotic for Water, there's Flygon for Ground and Dragon, there's Alchemy for Fairy, there's Scyther for Bug and Flying, there's Magmar for Fire, there's Beldum for Steel and Psychic, there's Tyrogue for Fighting, there's Alomomola for Water, there's Inkay for Dark and Psychic, there's Farigiraf for Normal and Psychic, there's Dodrio for Normal and Flying, there's Tauros for Normal, there's Lapras for Water and Ice, there's Alolan Sandshrew for Ice and Steel, there's Skarmory for Steel and Flying, there's Rhyhorn for Ground and Rock, there's Bastiodon for Rock and Steel, there's Scizor for Bug and Steel, there's Mandibuzz for Dark and Flying, there's Rampardos for Rock, there's Dusknoir for Ghost, there's Haxorus for Dragon, there's Magmortar for Fire, there's Archaludon for Steel and Dragon, there's Raging Ball for Electric and Dragon, there's Iron Crown for Steel and Psychic, there's Rhyperior for Ground and Rock, there's Hitmontop for Fighting, there's Quillfish for Water and Poison, there's Politoed for Water, there's Quagsire for Water and Ground, there's Poltergeist for Ghost, there's Gothitelle for Psychic, there's Blossom for Grass, there's Shiftry for Grass and Dark, there's Chandelure for Ghost and Fire, there's Lurantis for Grass, there's Kommo-o for Dragon and Fighting, there's Cyndaquil for Fire, there's Torchic for Fire, there's Piplup for Water, there's Oshawott for Water, there's Snivy for Grass, there's Rowlet for Grass and Flying, there's Froakie for Water, there's Tepig for Fire, there's Litten for Fire, there's Turtwig for Grass, there's Chikorita for Grass, there's Fennekin for Fire, there's Charmander for Fire, there's Squirtle for Water, there's Treecko for Grass, there's Grookey for Grass, there's Popplio for Water, there's Chimchar for Fire, there's Scorbunny for Fire, there's Mudkip for Water, there's Totodile for Water, there's Sobble for Water, there's Chespin for Grass, there's Bulbasaur for Grass and Poison, there's Venusaur for Grass and Poison, there's Smeargle for Normal, there's Primarina for Water and Fairy, there's Blaziken for Fire and Fighting, there's Dondozo for Water, there's Gardevoir for Psychic and Fairy, there's Hariyama for Fighting, there's Iron Bundle for Ice and Water, there's Mimikyu for Ghost and Fairy, there's Ninetales for Fire, there's Venomoth for Bug and Poison, there's Rockruff for Rock, there's Lilio for Fire and Normal, there's Toucannon for Normal and Flying, there's Magnemite and Magneton for Electric and Steel, there's Metang for Steel and Psychic, there's Abomasnow for Grass and Ice, there's Pikipek for Normal and Flying, there's Venonat for Bug and Poison, there's Alolan Graveler for Rock and Electric, there's Fracture for Dragon, there's Yanmega for Bug and Flying, there's Talonflame for Fire and Flying, there's Pikachu for Electric, there's Oddish for Grass and Poison, there's Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan for Fighting, there's Gallade for Psychic and Fighting, there's Staraptor for Normal and Flying, there's Crabominable for Fighting and Ice, there's Mightyena for Dark, there's Dipplin for Grass and Dragon, there's Clodsile for Poison and Ground, there's Alolan Vulpix for Ice, there's Alolan Ninetales for Ice and Fairy, there's Galvantula for Bug and Electric, there's Galarian Slowpoke for Psychic, there's Ditto for Normal, there's Dedenne for Electric and Fairy, there's Palmy for Electric, there's Morpeko for Electric and Dark, there's Breloom for Grass and Fighting, there's Suicune for Water, there's Moltres for Fire and Flying, there's Kubfu for Fighting, there's Rayquaza for Dragon and Flying, there's Articuno for Ice and Flying, there's Zapdos for Electric and Flying, there's Raikou for Electric, there's Entei for Fire, there's Cobalion for Steel and Fighting, there's Terrakion for Rock and Fighting, there's Virizion for Grass and Fighting, there's Latias and Latios for Dragon and Psychic, there's Glastrier for Ice, there's Spectrier for Ghost, there's Ho-Oh for Fire and Flying, there's Lugia for Psychic and Flying, there's Solgaleo for Psychic and Steel, there's Lunala for Psychic and Ghost, there's Necrozma for Psychic, there's Groudon for Ground, there's Kyogre for Water, there's Zekrom for Dragon and Electric, there's Reshiram for Dragon and Fire, there's Kyurem for Dragon and Ice, there's Executor for Grass and Psychic, there's Lokix for Bug and Dark, there's Galganok for Rock, there's Dragonite for Dragon and Flying, there's Goldango for Steel and Ghost, there's Cyclozar for Dragon and Normal, there's Golem for Rock and Ground, there's Milcery for Fairy, there's Charizard for Fire and Flying, and there's Blastoise for Water. First place for the type with the most Pokemon is Water with 23. Tied for second are Grass and Fire with 21. Tied for third are Psychic and Flying with 19. Fourth is Dragon with 16. 5th is Electric with 15. 6th is Steel and Fighting with 14. 7th is Normal with 12. 8th is Ice with 11. 9th is Rock with 10. Tied for 10th is Ground and Ghost with 9. Tied for 11th is Poison, Fairy, and Bug with 8. And last is Dark with 6. But at the end of the day, it's important to remember that these numbers will most likely change when the game comes out. Until then, what are your thoughts? Did the type you predicted win, or was it close? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see ya.